Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real world experience, from vision to execution.
Welcome to Inside Marketing Success. Today we have Stephen Hargett from Workspace. So, Stephen, I had the opportunity to meet with you, but for our audience, please tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Stephen, co-founder and CEO of Workspace, and we're building an intent engine specifically in real estate. So essentially, Workspace is a platform that allows for you to find, book, and manage physical space. Our theory and our thesis is that physical space plays such a huge role into how you show up that if we could take over the operational burden, people will be placed in spaces that are really aligned with who they are, what they do to ultimately increase productivity so that they can focus on revenue generating activities.
Wonderful. Amazing. Okay, so tell us your education and how you ended up at Workspace.
It's funny. So I went to the University of Maryland, go Terps, and majored in psychology, neurophysiology. I was about one drunken night away from being a doctor. My friends, I was going to take the MCAT, and my friends were like, to be a doctor, you got to take the MCAT. I was like, that's not happening. Um, so it was second semester, senior year. Everyone's getting their internships at Deloitte, going to apply for their GRE and their GMAT and law school. And I remember I was walking through the union and everyone was like, "So what are you going to do?" And I went, "I don't know." At that time, I was managing the building on campus. We had a co-working space on campus, a restaurant, and I was managing the building. I really, really enjoyed it. So I got a job at Apple, fresh out of college, and being a specialist, wasn't really that great at it. They created a role for me to where like I did tours of the Apple store and showed people like the different areas of the Apple store and how that played into how you interacted with the devices. So I would say that was my first instinct, my first instance of being in understanding physical space. Then I went to Tesla. Then I went to WeWork at its height. LA, we only had 14 buildings. We scaled to 41 buildings. Then I was able to manage physical space for the mayor's office here in Los Angeles in conjunction with partnership with a nonprofit. And in that moment, walking around an empty 60,000 square foot building, I started to ask myself, what would the world look like? Right? What is the world going to look like in respect to how we do um, for after COVID? So I remember saying to myself, like, oh, people are going to want access to these third spaces. If we built a platform to give people access to the third space, I'm going to be a billionaire. That was in 2021. That didn't happen. And then in 2024, we got our first customer at the end of 2024, and he said, "Hey, I love the idea of getting people access to space, but what really gets me, what I need, is the after." I find the space. I'm like, can you help me onboard, move in, all of that? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I said, that's not what we do. He said, but I'll pay you. I said, oh, okay. Like any opportunity. And from that point on, Workspace has been continuously growing. We have some really, really great partners in the collegiate athletics. We have great partners working with like Howard University, University of Maryland. We have other great partners that we work with, other bigger brands in the automotive space. And we've just been continuously steadily growing. I think 2026 rather is going to be a really, really great year. How I like to compare is that 2024, we made some revenue. And what we were doing in 2024, we were doing monthly in 2025. And what we've done so far in 2026 is half of what we've done or what we did in 2025. So I'm thinking if we could keep with this growth for what we're doing in 2026, hopefully in 2027, we could do a full year 2026 in 1 month in 2027. So it's been going pretty well. I think that we've been super nimble and we're finding ourselves working in different capacities that I didn't intend when we first started the company. But I'm super excited to see where it goes. And I'm just glad that we're able to really have impact on our customers and ultimately how they show up.
So let's talk about your challenges, your marketing challenges. What you're describing is really good growth. So obviously you have done something right. Let's talk about the things that you have done right when it comes to marketing.
That's really good. I think that the one thing that we've done really, really right is our story. And what I mean by that is that we've been trying to figure out how do we tell like a human story around physical space. and we're very transparent in our shortcomings. And I'm finding that people have been really aligned with that. Meaning, when we tell our story, we're telling the struggles, the trials, the tribulations of raising capital, of finding customers, of the no that we get all day long, which we're starting to see is starting to turn into customers because it's like because there's a level of human. I think that where we need to do a better job of is how to make that content more digestible, and then also how to make that content come quickly, right? So we don't have a content calendar. We post when we feel like they need to post. But I think that a lot of our posts don't necessarily have like a proper call to action. It's more so random workspace thoughts about the industry, so on and so forth. But we don't have the call to action like, hey, these are our thoughts, and you should work with us for this, right? Like last year, we had a marketing campaign, a pure happenstance, but so thankful for the team over there. We had a billboard in Times Square for a week, which was amazing, right? So it's an opportunity for us to be aligned with the other brands that are in Times Square. Another marketing go-to-market strategy we've been doing is activating physical spaces so that people can experience what a workspace experience is, like like tangibly. So those have helped us like gain traction customers. All of our customers have gained word of mouth. But I think for us to really have the success in 2026 that we really want to see, we need to be able to put all of that into like a really, really package, a solid package, so that we're able to then copy and paste and be able to make it very, very operational.
Nice, nice, very nice. Okay, so let's talk about your learning experiences. Sometimes we make mistakes, in the process, and so let's talk about a learning experience, um, where obviously something failed, but from my perspective, it's not really failure if you learn something at that point.
Yeah. Oh, I know one. It cost us $5,000. I distinctly remember that. So we were doing our go-to-market strategy, activating spaces. I got this idea. It's like, hey, I want to do something that's not necessarily co-working, office, business related. I want to do something fun. Kind of and so we scheduled the time, we got the budget ready, we invited over 5,000 people, got an RSVP list of 4,000 folks. No, no, got RSVP of like 300 plus people. And I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna have this place rocking. No, 13 people showed up, half of which were our team. And I was mortified because my
Mhm.
team is looking at me like you just spent $5,000 on this go-to-market thing, it's event, Sunday fun day, and I was mortified. And it's funny because the three things that we learned, the three after effects, two learning and one actual action is that the one thing that we learned is that we were too young, right? We're too young to like kind of do something experiential outside of like our scope. The second one was that timing. We did the event in that lull between school starting and summer school ending. So with families and stuff go on vacation. So there was no one in the city to show up. And then the one action that came out of it though was that we were able to have a lot of intimate conversations with those that did show up to talk about workspace. And then what ended up happening is that one of our space partners like still reaches out to them. And every time we have an event, we reach out to them. So we built a really, really solid relationship with them. I mean, especially because they got paid $5,000 to service 13 people. But and but in all seriousness, I think that the thing that we learned the most is that the stuff that we need to do needs to be very, very authentic and human to like the organization.
Nice. That's the type of thing that I'm looking for. Fantastic. All right, let's talk about um, Stephen Hargett. You know,
Yeah,
and let's imagine that you go to a restaurant
okay.
and you sit down in one of those booths, and you cannot see who's behind you, and they cannot see what's behind them, but you
Yeah.
recognize the voice, and it is three of your best friends. and
Okay.
they start talking about you, something positive. And what are the three things you would like them to say about you?
The one thing that I know that they would say is that like I am one friend I always have, he always said like I'm the realest person he's ever met. And at first I used to take offense to that. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? And he's like, there's no facade between you and the world. Like there's no ego. There's just you. And he says, since the very first day that I met you, he said, you've always just been you. He said, whatever that you is, I still don't get, but you've been that you. And then my other friends, I think, would say those three friends would probably just talk about like how I view the world so drastically differently than what they're accustomed to. They would say that I'm a maximizer and that I'm a person that like tries to make very, very different things work together. And then that I'm always like, I'll go into the weeds or they're constantly having to pull me out of a rabbit hole.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So, who would be the ideal customer for Workspace?
Hmm. I would say if you asked me this 6 months ago, I would give you your standard, small to medium-sized businesses located here to do this, to do that, right? But what I found is that our ideal customer are the people and organizations where their job is responsible for the space outcome. And what I mean by that is that you have so what we first discovered is that we had a difference between the user and then the buyer. So the user is your front desk office manager, facilities manager, workspace manager, so on and so forth. The buyer is usually in the team of operations. The operations are normally a cost center. Now that we kind of switched our product a bit, we're finding that our ultimate customer are anyone in an organization that's responsible for physical spaces outcome. So whether that's a facilities manager who has to have a list of vendors to end up fixing something, or if it's a operational manager who's working with the people team on experiential places. So we really help superpower those people so that they're able to do their job quicker, faster, more efficient, so that they really focus on the real core of what they do.
Very cool. All right. The next question would be you obviously have experience now,
Hmm.
and you started up in something else because you
Hmm.
were going to be a doctor,
Yeah.
and you are who you are today. So let's assume that you have the opportunity to go and whisper something on your ear as soon as you graduated from college. What will you tell yourself?
Oh, well, that's easy. I would tell myself there's a class that I took. I would tell myself to go to architecture school and go to art school, like for to go get a master's in like fine arts or a master's in architecture. That would be number one, like that, hands down. And the reason why is because now I look back on it, like fine arts and architecture is what I deal with. I don't I do what I deal with in a certain capacity. So I would go and be like, hey man, go to architecture school. Like it's you're gonna need that skill set for what you're gonna do 10, 20 years from now. Like I mean, for right now we're in the middle of applying for something, and most of my conversations are with architects about the different elements of physical space. So it's like if I had that education on the backside, then I think that I would be a lot further. Not to say that I'm upset or where I'm at. I just think that I'll be further.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience about you?
I think the one thing I want to say is first, though, thank you so much for having me. I am super appreciative of the opportunity to connect. I think that what you're doing is so amazing. Anything particularly about me, I think I want to leave the audience. One thing is that the success of things that you're dealing with is like when the opportunity when you're moving from mandate to mindfulness, where things are no longer what you have to do and they're just things that you are going to do. And then also I think the thing is like if we're leaning in with curiosity, there's a lot of different opportunities that are going to be in your way for you to help scale and grow your business, and just be open to that experience. But
Wonderful.
ultimately, thank you so much.
All right, Stephen, thank you very much for our guest at IMS. Look forward to getting to know you better, working with you or collaborating with
Yes.
you in the future.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. I beyond appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.